Hi everybody, Chris here from Flying Star Astrology. It's a little bit bright out today, so I'm sort of covering my eyes. Today I want to talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's been in the news because of health issues again, and she's had chronic health issues for a number of years, really going back 2 decades now. So apparently on the bench, and I didn't know this until I started looking up information about her, she's known as the notorious RBG because of her, I guess her opinions about certain court cases. She's considered quite the firebrand when she talks about the issues that are she feels passionate about. And then also because of her refusal to step down despite all of her chronic bouts with not only health in general, but specifically cancer. Cancer keeps showing up in her life over and over and over again. So I wanted to look at the flying stars for her because Ruth is, I believe, the oldest member of the Supreme Court. She's 86 years old. She was the second woman to be nominated, or I shouldn't say nominated, to be appointed to the Supreme Court. And she's the first Jewish woman to be appointed to the Supreme Court. So, you know, quite a history with her. And she's 86, which in today's environment, I guess, doesn't seem. I mean, yes, it's old, but it doesn't seem that old because more and more people are living to be 100. So 86 is, it is up there, but it doesn't mean that like tomorrow is your last day. Like, when my grandparents' parents were growing up, 86 was ancient. Nowadays, it's like, well, you probably have a good another 15, 20 years ahead of you. So Ruth, to me, looks older than she is, and it's probably a lot of it has to do with her health issues. So going back to 1999, she had a bout of colon cancer, and at the time, her flying stars were showing that she had conflict on her health plus illness, which could have indicated that they were not exactly sure how to treat her colon cancer at the time. And it's likely that her family and her doctors wanted her to resign from the Supreme Court when they discovered that she had this type of cancer. Her success direction had relationship conflict on it, and also problems with the buttocks, which is kind of odd considering she had colon cancer. And then she also had stars on her relationship showing that she would be experiencing a new illness. And then her wisdom direction, which is really more tied to her career than even her success direction, because on the bench, when you're a judge, you're using knowledge. So information you know about the law is going to be affecting your career. So really her wisdom direction is going to be affecting her career more than her success direction. And it showed a clash of ideas and arguments. So likely when she was diagnosed at this time, there were a couple of things going on. One, they weren't exactly sure how to treat the colon cancer. Number two, her family wanted her to resign from the bench. And number three, her doctors probably also wanted her to resign. So she apparently is quite feisty, and she probably fought them with every part of her being that she could, which is why she's still on the bench now. So that shows up completely, which ties into her nickname, the notorious RBG. Then about 10 years later, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and at the time, her health direction shows that she received a lot of support from her spouse, but it also showed a new loss. So when you have disease come up like cancer, it can create loss, not only financial, but in your relationships, in your health, in your career, kind of all kinds of things that get put to the sidelines so that you can take care of your health. Her husband happened to die about 1.5 years after she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So it's interesting that this spousal support star came in so strong at this particular time. Her relationship direction had what I call double fire at Heaven's Gate. So what that means is like all of the support of the universe was burned up for her. Like, it was hard for her to get support from God, if you want to call it that, or the universe, because of the stars sitting there. And it's also likely because of this combination that there was a lot of pressure for her to resign from her position. And I think Obama was in office at this time, so even if he wasn't pressuring her, there were probably people above her who were pressuring her to resign, because all of this has to do with nobody's really on your side, and they're pushing you to do things that they want you to do in this particular situation. And her success direction, it shows that she had a long-term illness coming, and that it would take hard work to succeed to recover from this. And then she also had a health disaster combination sitting on her wisdom direction, which means that it would affect her job. So she did end up coming back, and she refused to resign, which not unexpected considering she had gone through this already. In 2018, so another 9 years later, seems to be like every 9-10 years something happens with her. She was diagnosed with lung cancer. She'd actually fallen and broken some ribs, and they went in to do an x-ray to see how the ribs were healing, and discovered that she had nodules on her lungs. So sudden illness was diagnosed through the x-rays for her ribs. That's no surprise. Sudden illness on her health. A new disaster. Cancer is definitely what I would call disastrous. Conflict and loss on her success direction, meaning she would have to take time off work. And then an unexpected start to something new on her wisdom direction. So, hopefully that would be something good. Maybe she came to some kind of conclusion within herself about this illness, but it also could indicate unexpected start to treating lung cancer. So, not good, but the stars sort of indicate that she's going to have problems at the time that she was diagnosed. Okay, so fast forward to August of 2019. She was diagnosed with a tumor on her pancreas. For the year 2019, she has the exact same yearly stars this year that she did when she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2009. So the way the stars work, or the way I like to explain the way that the stars work, is that they will bring you things. These stars work in cycles of 9. So they'll bring you things, and if you have not handled them, the next time they cycle through, they'll bring the same issues back to you, either in the same form, like we see here. She had pancreatic cancer in 2009. She has a tumor on her pancreas this year in August of 2019. So they can bring back the problems for you to handle in a similar way, or they can bring you a different version of the same thing. So it's likely that if she didn't have this tumor on her pancreas, she would have had some kind of health problem that she would have had to deal with this year, given that it doesn't appear that she handled whatever she was supposed to handle back in 2009. That's how the stars work. So it's kind of like karma. If you don't deal with what these stars bring you when they bring it to you, they bring it back to you later in a different form, so that you have the opportunity to work it out and have the opportunity to resolve it so that you can move forward. So it doesn't look like she has moved forward from the challenges that she was faced with in 2009. So in August 2019, they discovered a tumor on her pancreas. And at the time, her health direction showed that she would be experiencing something new related to a long-term issue. So long-term issue for her is cancer, because she's been dealing with that for 20 years now. And something new is the tumor on the pancreas. Relationships show that there's arguing and double loss. So she could have very easily alienated people as a result of arguments, either about her health, her career, maybe the treatment that was necessary, but it was not, whatever the issue was, it didn't go well. Like there was arguing definitely involved there. She's got the double illness star on her success direction, which would indicate that illness would affect her career at this time. Her wisdom direction had the disaster and conflict stars on them, which indicates disagreements and conflict likely related to her work. So again, it could be that she was disagreeing with people about stepping down from her position. It could be that she was arguing with her children about whether she should step down from the Supreme Court. So that's that energy again. There's a lot of conflict energy that shows up in her health. So it looks to me like there's conflict that she needs to resolve that she's not willing to resolve or has not been willing to resolve. Doesn't mean you can't be feisty, like she's known to be feisty. You can be feisty, but still find a way to work with people or work with challenges you're experiencing yourself in a way that supports your energy so that you can keep moving forward in your spiritual growth and in your personal development. So it doesn't look to me like she's really handled that well, because the same stars keep coming up every time an illness occurs, and conflict and disaster keep coming up over and over and over again if you look through her stars. All right, so fast forward, pardon me, it's getting brighter out here. November 2019, and this is what triggered me to look at her stars to begin with. So she recently got out of the hospital. They said it was no big deal. She had chills and a fever and just went in, and it was no big deal. But the stars for her this month are showing health problems and job problems related to a long-term issue. So it's likely that she is going to be dealing with something that she has had in the past, like something new happens and it affects her work. So she did have nodules on her lungs. It's possible that that could be it, or related to the pancreas again, or possibly, something else related to cancer. But she may not know that, and we may not, her doctors may not know that yet, but that's just what's showing up in the stars. So for December, next month, she's got stars that show that she's going to be experiencing a new health conflict, double loss on relationships. See, we got the double loss on relationships here again in August. So relationships and arguing. She's got issues that need to be worked out here. That's why this keeps coming up. So she's likely going to be arguing with somebody about, her health or her, whether she should keep working or something else. But the argument keeps coming up. Arguing. There's arguing on the other pages that we looked at. Again, disaster and loss on her career. So likely will need to take time off from her career as a result of the health problems. So that's for December. It's not good for her health. January 2020. So the stars for flying stars don't change for the year until a little bit later. It doesn't follow the calendar, the January to December calendar that we follow. It follows the Chinese calendar, so it's a little bit different. So January 2020, the stars are showing disagreements with family about work, and disagreements even with coworkers about work. New illness, again, new health conflict, new illness. So, and the job problems related to long-term issues, which health problems, all of this, it's a recurring theme. Ending of relationships and starting of relationships. So it's possible that she decides to fire her doctors and get new doctors, or maybe she has friends that are not supporting her the way she wants to, so she brings those relationships to a close. It can also mean that she decides that she doesn't want to work anymore, and so she ends those relationships and starts new ones doing something else outside of the Supreme Court. That's just a possibility, but there are tons of possibilities that could happen. The stars are also showing lung disease and sudden disaster. So, none of this is good. And if you remember, lung cancer in 2018. So, you know, when I look at these stars, it looks like she may have lung issues that started this month. Then it kind of evolves in December and January into something a little more drastic for her. And then 2020, the star on her health is, again, it's not good. It's the fire star. So that can burn things up. It can burn up your health. And especially given that her health direction is in the west. Fire in the west is not a good place for fire energy. So, you know, as much as I'd like to see her stick around for a long time, she's going to have to take really good care of her health. And in particular, what would help her is if she would work on her relationship with others, and whatever conflict it is that she needs to work through that. That will help her health a lot. And her health is tied to her mouth. So that's all speaking and words that you would say. So maybe she should come up with different ways to say things, or use her words differently in ways that don't bring conflict and arguing to her, just because it's draining for her health. It's not good for her health. But anyway, that's it for the notorious RBG. And I don't know, I just find this interesting how the stars come in and point to different things that happen in your life. Now, of course, other people were born on the exact same day that she was, in the exact same year, who are not dealing with these things. So what the stars are really doing is saying, okay, here are the things that you're doing in your life right now, or that you need to work on in your life right now. And so we're going to show you how to do that. So what happened for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was born in 1933, I think March 15, 1933, it's going to be different than somebody else born on that date, because they have different things to work through. They have different jobs, they have different families, they live in different places. So the stars are not going to affect everybody the same way. Just as in regular astrology, you can be born on the same day as somebody else and close to the exact same time, and your life is going to be completely different, because what you're choosing to do with your life, because you have free will, is going to influence the way the stars affect you. So I hope you found that interesting, and if you did, click the subscribe button, and if you hit the bell, I'll be able to notify you every time I post a new video, which is pretty much daily. And then if you like this, hit the thumbs up button that you liked it. And if you have any comments or questions, post them below and I will answer those for you. I hope to see you soon, and I'll talk to you later.